Okay, let's jump right into our deep dives. We're looking at Isaiah chapter 17 today.
Right. And this chapter, it really opens with a strong focus, an oracle, a prophecy.
And it's aimed squarely at Damascus, mostly, and that region.
Primarily, yes, Damascus and the surrounding areas, and it doesn't pull any punches.
It sounds pretty intense. What's the main prediction?
Well, the text states very clearly that Damascus will cease to be a city. It says it'll become a heap of ruins.
Wow, just gone. Rubble.
Exactly. And it spreads out from there, too. It mentions other places like the cities of Aurora.
What happens to them?
They're described as deserted. Left to flocks is the phrase used. Basically, abandoned land where animals graze.
So a picture of widespread abandonment, not just one city's fall.
It talks about the fortified city vanishing from Ephraim, that's part of Israel, and royal power leaving Damascus. There's this interesting bit about the remnant of Aram.
The survivors.
Yeah, their initial state is compared to the glory of the Israelites. But then right after that, it says the glory of Jacob, Israel itself, will also fade.
Fade, like diminishing returns. Almost like something being harvested until there's barely anything left.
That's exactly the kind of imagery it uses. Very agricultural, like
Yeah.
a field after the reaper, or like gleaning.
Gleaning. Picking up the tiny bits left over.
Precisely, like gleaning heads of grain in the valley of Rephaim, which was known for being fertile, or like shaking an olive tree and only getting, 2 or 3 olives left at the top.
So a drastic reduction. Power, population, glory,
Yeah.
all shrinking down to almost nothing. A remnant survives, but that's it.
A remnant, yes, but the former abundance is gone.
Okay, but then the text seems to shift gear, doesn't it? After all this destruction and fading glory.
It does. A really significant turn. It says, "In that day, men will look to their Maker and turn their eyes to the Holy One of Israel."
So, from looking at the ruins, they start looking upwards, toward the divine.
Exactly. A pivot from the external situation to an internal reorientation. They stop looking to the altars, the work of their hands.
The idols they made themselves.
And they disregard other things, too, like the Asherah poles. Those were linked to Canaanite goddess worship and their incense altars.
So the physical loss is kind of followed by this spiritual redirection, a rejection of the old ways of worship.
Yes, and the text links the prior state, the downfall, to forgetting God. It says, "You have forgotten God, your Savior. You have not remembered the rock, your fortress."
So there's a reason given for the disaster. Spiritual neglect.
It seems so. And the consequence of this forgetting is described pretty starkly, too. Even if they try really hard, planting the best vines, trying to get quick growth,
It won't work.
the text says the harvest will be as nothing in the day of disease and incurable pain. All that effort leads to failure because their foundation was wrong. They weren't relying on the rock.
That's quite a connection.
Yeah.
Then the focus shifts again, right? Suddenly there's this image of nations.
Yeah, abruptly. The raging of many nations. It uses this powerful metaphor like the roaring sea, the pounding of mighty waters, huge, chaotic, overwhelming force.
Sounds terrifying, an external threat piling on.
It does. But then, just as suddenly, the response comes. When he rebukes them, they flee far away.
He rebukes them. God.
Implied, yes. And the effect is immediate. They're driven off like chaff on the hills or like tumbleweed before a gale.
Wow. So that massive roaring threat just gets blown away effortlessly, like dust in the wind.
Instantly dispersed, just scattered by this divine rebuke. It's incredibly dramatic.
Its suddenness is striking.
And it leads straight into the final verses, which pick up on that theme of suddenness.
Right. This brings us to the very end of the chapter.
Yes. The conclusion is, in the evening, sudden terror. Before the morning, they are gone.
Terror, then, gone by sunrise. But who is this about? The nations.
The text specifies. This is the portion of those who loot us, the lot of those who plunder us.
So it's the fate of the attackers, the exploiters. Their turn for sudden disappearance.
Exactly. So if we sort of pull back and look at the whole chapter.
We see this flow. You have the initial prophecy of destruction for Damascus and the region. Then the fading glory of even Israel, linked to forgetting God.
Then the turn back towards God, away from idols. But then this image of overwhelming threat from nations.
Which is then utterly, instantly scattered by divine power. And finally, this stark warning, or maybe promise, that those who plunder will face their own sudden end. Terror one night, gone the next.
It's quite a journey in one chapter. Destruction, decline, spiritual awakening, futile human effort, external threats, divine intervention, and swift consequence for aggressors.
It really covers a lot of ground. And that final image is powerful. So for you listening, maybe reflect on that.
Yeah.
The sudden terror for the plunderers arriving in the evening, but by morning they vanished. What might this ancient text be suggesting about, well, the vulnerability of power built on exploitation? Something to think about.